Happy Black History Month, right? It's our month, right? I think every month is our month, but sorry for the lateness. Happy to be here and be a resource. And also, TJ, thanks for continue to have this. This is the second time we're doing this, so happy we can spend some more time with y'all. Be a resource again. So I'm not sure where I caught everybody, but Bilal, back to you.
We're excited to do this talk because a couple of our other talks got canceled because of the new DEI efforts, which we found interesting because we picked up white clients from those events as well. But it's whatever. We're here now. So last time we did this talk, we spent some time talking through savings, budgeting, investments, and insurance planning. And I know it's not the same group of people that are here this time around. So I think it might be a good idea to just start from those basics again and just get everyone caught up in terms of how should you approach things when it relates to those things. And then throughout our conversation today, we'll just plan things as it relates to just Black history. I know one of our big mission is how to create $1 trillion wealth impact within our community. And that's something that Anthony has been championing for a very long time. So Anthony, if you don't mind, if you could just give them just background in terms of what our mission is, what our goal is, and
Of course, of course. So Bilal and I, we've been in this industry combined what 20 plus years of experience at this point. And being in the field that we're in, it's a high percentage of failure rate because we are running our own practices. And so what really helps Bilal and I really push through some of the challenges, our purpose, right? I've been doing this since I was 19, Bilal 19 years old, and so we've been doing this for a minute. And so as we continue to grow our practices and as we continue to work with the clients that we work with, we created this vision of making a $1 trillion impact, right? And it's one of those things where the work that we do, the fact that y'all are here, it's bigger than us, right? And so the way Bilal and I are making that impact happen, it's really looking at our clients' results, looking at the plans they set into place. And so the idea would be when everything's all said and done, right? So if everyone decides to cash out their investment accounts, if everyone decides to cash out their insurance policies, hopefully they don't need to do, but if that does happen, we want that to equal to $1 trillion. And I'm proud to say that right now, I'm currently hovering roughly around $800 billion of impact at this moment. And I'm pretty sure Bilal's, I don't know, Bilal, where are you at with your impact?
right there with you.
Right. So just combined, we're really up there in numbers. And so we tell our clients to build wealth, to maintain it and to transfer it. It's not easy at all. It's a process, right? You're going to create the financial plan. You're going to get excited about it. Life is going to slap you in the face. And you're going to often forget what you said was important to you. And so our job is to remind you. Our job is to have these ongoing conversations. If people decide to want to work with us, depending upon the level of engagement in which they like to work with us, we touch base with our clients 4 times a year, 5 times a year. I can almost tell you that every single time things change. And so that $1 trillion impact is to really make sure that we're taking the right actions to build the wealth and have the equal to 1 trillion, because we're at a point in our career where Bilal and I now work with our clients' children. We sometimes work with our clients and we work with their grandparents, right? Because wealth needs to be passed on generationally. And so the best way we do that is by, coming here, having these conversations, hopefully decide to want to work with us, and we'll give you 110% effort so we can really make that wealth happen. Because I'm tired of all the talking. People talk about building generational wealth, but Bilal and I, we talk about it, but we can actually help you do it through the tools and strategies that we know. So Bilal and I can get into my preacher mode, at any point in time, but I'm going to take a pause there. That's how we plan on doing it. And then again, we also are advocates to getting people into this industry. And so I opened an office in Harlem roughly about 4 years ago to get more people of color to become financial advisors. So shameless plug, I'm hiring for 6 financial advisors. If you know somebody in New York City area that is interested in a career shift, love to have a conversation as well, because we're really adamant on this goal and persistent. Hence, we're here to have this conversation with y'all.
Perfect. So I think let's just take it from the beginning. I think one of the biggest challenges that we often face in our communities is the fact that we don't have access to the information. And for a very long time, we never have access to the actual resources. You think about things like redlining, where intentionally they'll drive down the value of homes in Black neighborhoods. You think about things like Black Wall Street, where you get a group of individuals together, Black businesses together that are thriving, and of course you have to burn it down. We're often seeing these challenges that we're often facing, and what we're trying to do is how can we help create that gap and really cover as best as possible? Because at times, what happened is Anthony and I would get introduced to one of our clients' parents, and when we are in front of the parents, what we often realize is that the children are actually better off financially than their parents. So now when we're working with this generation that's up and coming and they're making high incomes, they're pharmacists, and oftentimes they're married, so they have this dual income household. And you come out with your first job making more than your parents. Now it's like, where do I go to actually get some financial education? And in the world that we live in today, information is readily available through social media. Everyone's a financial advisor. My barber thinks he's a financial advisor. Like everyone thinks they're a financial advisor. But where do you actually go to get great information? So I think there's a lack of that. And some of the things, just to start from the basics, that we really want to focus on with all of our clients from the first conversation is take an inventory of how much does it cost to be you today. We're constantly challenging you. In our first conversation, we want to know how much does it cost to you to pay off your fixed expenses, whether you're renting right now or you have a mortgage, whatever you're paying for, we have to understand what that is. We want to understand what's coming in, because once we understand what's coming in and what's going out, we're going to understand, are you currently operating with a surplus or are you operating with a deficit? You'd be shocked at how many people don't know the answer to that question, how much it costs to be them. Just you alone figuring that out for yourself is going to be a big game changer for you. And if you want, we have templates that we can share with everyone here on this call that you can use to figure that out for yourself.
Right. And
Go
one
ahead.
thing I want to touch on too, and so the technical terminology that we use for this is cash flow management. Like you need to master your cash flow like yesterday. Um, because it can go in two ways. Where one, we have clients, that make a lot of money per month. I remember I was speaking to this household, they were making on average like 20 grand a month and some change, and their bills were 5,000 a month. And when I look at their savings accounts and their non-existent investment account, I was like, yo, where's the money going? Anthony, I don't know. I'm like, well, I know where it's going. Y'all just flushing it down the toilet. Uber Eats, spending money at the Louis Vuitton store, going on vacation, trying to keep with the Joneses. And so what happened, they missed out on all the saving and investing over the last 5 years. And the market over the last 5 years have done fantastic, right? And so Bilal and I used to be, understand your income, your fixed versus discretionary. But even if you keep your fixed expenses relatively low, it's like, well, challenge yourself to prioritize saving over investing, because the more that you can save, the more flexibility you have financially, right? So I just want to just kind of throw it in there, and just outside of the templates that we're going to send to you, some other tools that you can leverage or reference, and I use it personally. It's an app called Rocket Money. There's a ton of them out there, but I use Rocket Money. They're not paying me to tell you all this, but it tracks every single expense that comes in. It is a little bit more manual. You have to go in there, categorize the expenses. But now what we're doing right now with our clients is we want our clients to really understand their trends. In January, February, March, what do things look like there? If we look at April, May, June, what is like there? Because we want to be able to manage your cash flow so we can really maximize your money management throughout the year, not just one time, not just 4 times, or not just around tax season. So cash flow, you need to master it yesterday. You can use Rocket Money. Also, Bilal and I, we work with a firm called Northwestern Mutual Wealth Management. We partner with them, and they have some great technology where you can actually get access to our client portal for free. And you can actually use some of their budgeting tool there as well if you want to.
Yep. Excellent. I'm going to share just what this template will look like. So when we get this out to you, you guys can just see it and you can play around with it and just make sure that you're using it as appropriately as possible. This is just an Excel document. All of the formulas are already in there. So just plug and play. It's pretty straightforward. So for example, mortgage or rent, and how much is the cost to be in New York? What's your actual, like, what are you paying for rent? You just got to do
My
this.
rent's like 33.75.
Okay, so if you're paying 33.75, you put that there. We'll just give you the annual. And then down here, you're able to see, okay, how much is that total expense? And then here, just put in what your take-home pay is. Every month you make, I don't know, 12 grand. And they could put the $12,000 there and then just give you the surplus. And here you could just edit whatever other expenses that you have, like supporting family. And then just put that expense there, I don't know, $525 a month. And then we'll just automatically calculate it for you. So that's just a quick little template. We'll send this over to you, work on it for yourself. And this is just for your after tax. It don't include your pre-tax 401k contributions, health insurance, and we'll dive into that in a second as well. But we always think that this is a really good place for you guys to start, so you understand what's coming in and what's going out. And then lastly, assuming that there's a surplus, we want to make sure you have an emergency savings. And the rule of thumb for your emergency savings is to make sure you have anywhere from 3 to 6 months of your living expenses. So if you are a single income household, the encouragement is for you to have 6 months of living expenses. If you're a dual income household and income is relatively close, you can get away with 3 months of living expenses. So in this scenario, I don't know, just add $5,000 here. So you can see someone spends 9 grand a month, you want to keep $27,000 in savings at all time for a 3-month emergency. And then for that emergency, Anthony, where should they put that emergency savings?
Yes, so normally you would keep that in a savings account, not an investment account, and preferably a high yield savings. So a high yield savings where the savings account can probably give you like 2-3%. Some accounts can give you 4. Some institutions that have high yield savings, you can think about American Express has one. You know, I've seen Marcus by Goldman Sachs has one. I've seen Ally Savings has one. So the list goes on and on and on, right? Oh, perfect. You just Google it, right? Boom, Amex, Capital One, etc. So now, what we want to do today, who has a high yield savings? There we go, Chantel. Yeah, I'm about to ask that question. But does anybody struggle with cash flow management? And again, this is a safe space. We're not here to judge. We just want to know if y'all come across any issues where it's like, hey, I've tried to do this, but like it just doesn't work. Okay, so I see, Jassity says yes. We have Darius says yes. Okay, so I'm assuming everybody here is a master at their cash flow. Okay. We hear entrepreneurship cash flow management. I like that one. I try, but wings taste too good. I feel that. I feel that. And so for those that said yes, I'm curious to know what's your specific challenge with cash flow management. Darius said I like to be outside way too much. People take too long to pay invoices. Okay. I like to travel, impulsive spending. I really just go with the vibes. Okay. All right. So what I'm seeing here, y'all, I see there's a lot of behavioral challenges. Like no one is Rebecca, I hear that all the time too. You don't get paid every 2 weeks. I mean, except for the entrepreneurs. Like entrepreneurs be like, I don't know who get paid. We gonna figure it out. But a lot of it is behavioral management. And so I guess one of the things that I wanted to hear from your perspective, Bilal, is like, if someone wants to be outside too much, like how does someone overcome that challenge?
Yeah, for us, what we've experienced is the perfect way to actually do this is to keep track of every single expense, every single month, every 2 weeks. You spend the money, just keep track of it. And it really works. I remember early in my financial journey, I think first year out of college, I have Excel spreadsheets of every single transaction. I literally remember giving money to a homeless person on the street for like $10, and I come home and I write it down my Excel spreadsheet. Like I just kept track of every single thing, and it worked. But life gets busy, and over time, you just can't continue to do that. So what we've experienced that actually works really well for people is when you have a sense of clarity on the right percentage of your income that you need to save, it makes everything else easier. So the way I budget is every single time I'm paid, a certain percentage of my income just get taken out and it goes into my financial planning account. It's called a cash management account or money market account. It has an account and routing number attached to it. The money comes in, it's automatically taken from me. And it does a few things for me too. One, it makes sure that I save the right amount of money. And then two, when I'm spending money, it's completely guilt-free. Because the only thing I have to make sure I manage is I don't go into consumer debt. And as long as I'm not in credit card debt, I'm saving the right amount of money for the future that I want to live, the home that I'm going to purchase, the second home I'm going to purchase, and the life and the retirement and everything else is already taken care of for me. So out of sight, out of mind. And when you start thinking about that right percentage, what you want to target is really 20 to 30% of your gross income. If you talk to really the generation before, they may tell you 10 to 15%. But if you're really under the age of 50 or 45, you really want to target that 20 to 30% for a few reasons. One, we're living a lot longer, so you're going to need your money to last a lot longer for you. Two, Social Security is looking a little bit different by the time you get there. I know there's whole Department of Government efficiency to try to figure it out, but in actuality, it may or may not be there. Three, there's an increase in cost of healthcare that you have to account for. So you live in a world where you're living longer. Social Security may not be there. Increase in cost of healthcare, and then the other variable is taxes. Taxes, taxes, taxes. And it looks like tax rates may be higher in the future than necessarily lower. I don't know what's going to happen this next 4 years, but long term, based on what the U.S. economy is right now, people anticipate tax rates to be much higher. So because of those four reasons, you just have to do a better job of saving money, which is at 20 to 30% of your gross income. We're going to come back as we're going to hammer that point home tonight. But as the part of the reason why a lot of people have majority of their money tied to the employer sponsor retirement plans, 401ks, 403bs, 457, etc., because it's automatically taken away from you.
I see TJ asked the question, does inflation play a role? Absolutely. We always, what we do, you know, like Bilal mentioned earlier, he talked about understanding how much you need to be saving. And so the way we think about this practically, right, is let's say, you know, you're like 35 or 40, whatever that 50, whatever that age is. We would then map out your ideal retirement date. And so let's say that date is 65, 67 or whatever, and you want to make 10 grand a month. You say, Anthony, Bilal, I want to make 10 grand a month. I want to maintain my lifestyle today. We then would figure out what we need to do, like what is the amount we need to get to be able to live off of 10,000 a month conservatively. And let's say that amount is, let's say $2.5 million or $3 million. We would then do a backwards calculation to figure out, based upon what you're doing, are you on track? If you're on track, great. If you're not on track, well, what's the gap? We then would say, all right, here, based upon your income, based upon your expenses, we have to save X amount per year. That amount is $4,000. You might be like, Anthony, Bilal, where the hell am I get $4,000 from? I'm like, well, it's there. We just got to commit to it, right? And that's where we come down to the budgeting, track your money, see where it's going, so on and so forth. And so I know Bilal, he took the approach of doing Excel. I took it a step further. I actually wrote it down. And so I remember at one point, again, Bilal and I, we're humans, right? You know, we're not gonna sit here and say, hey, you know, we're masters of money. We know exactly, like we know a lot, right? But again, all this stuff is behavioral. And so for me, I remember I got engaged a couple of years ago. I was spending money freely. It was the summertime, and I looked at my expenses, and I was spending over, you know, over five figures, low five figures, you know, and just discretionary stuff. I'm just like, what the hell am I doing? And so to bring myself back to reality, I pretty much wrote down every single day where my money went, every single day. And I was able to cut or drop my spending over 70% in a matter of a month and a half, because I paid more attention to it and I was a little bit more intentional. Now, some other things too. We'll probably move on from the cash flow piece, but I see someone says like to travel. If you like to travel, well, budget your travel for the rest of the year. Like in today's meeting with a client, I asked them, hey, what do you have going on for this year? Anthony, we want to go here, we want to go there. Okay, I told him, great. You need to set aside 20 grand for this stuff or 15 grand for this stuff. Cool. So have a budget in mind, and then back into monthly how much you need to save to get there. If someone is impulsive spending, one thing I would say you can do is figure out what makes you be impulsive. So like, you know, what is it? Is it stress? Is it is it emotion? Is it what is it? Right? And then identify that and acknowledge it. And then come up with ways to create a barrier around your impulsive spending decision. Right? Can you put in your cart and wait 3 days? Can you put in your cart, wait a week? You know what I'm saying? If someone says they really go with the vibes, well, don't go with the vibes no more. Okay. I mean, that's not practical, but it's one of those things where have a budget around spending money. in going out. Hey, my budget is 500. Or someone says it's thought of knowing money will return. It will return, but you just keep running that rat race, right? And so I tell, and did some PR work for somebody, and they talked about how can you manage paying down debt, but also living your lifestyle. Find alternatives. So if you're a foodie, well, cook at home. If you like going out with friends, well, tell your friends, hey, y'all, I'll host y'all tonight at my house. Let's go somewhere that's cheaper. So find different ways to reduce those expenses because again, it's not about how much money you make. It's not about, it doesn't matter. It's how much money you keep. All right. So, Bilal, I don't want to, she said, I'll try. There we go. Can't pay for, hey, listen, it's crazy. Hey, just so you know, quick shameless plug on this one. Not even selling eggs. You can find cheaper eggs at farmer's market, apparently. Now, again, I saw that somewhere on Instagram. I think Trader Joe's had eggs that was reasonably priced and they get their stuff from farmer's market. So go to farmer's market for eggs.
Perfect. Quick hit on debt management, and then let's move on to some protection and some investing. On the debt side, first thing is take inventory of all the debt that you have, write it all down, make a list of it. And then once you have it, there's really two methods. You have snowball and avalanche. Snowball just says, hey, start with the smallest balance first, pay that off, and it's like a snowball rolling down a hill, and then you pay the largest balance off later. The second approach you could take is the avalanche, which simply means you start with the highest interest rate first. So you go ahead and you make a list of all the debt that you currently have, and it could look something like this. You go to your liabilities and say, okay, right now I have BOA credit card, and I owe BOA $7,000, and then I have Chase, and then I owe Chase $1,000, and then I have Wells, and then I owe Wells Fargo, I don't know, $3,000. Find out what the minimum payment is all these credit card debt. Maybe at BOA, it's $400 a month. Maybe Chase is, I don't know, $87. And maybe this one is $155. So altogether, you think about those three debts that you have there, that's $642 a month. What you could then do, just, hey, every single month, I'm going to put $1,000 towards my debt. And what you do is you put that entire, you pay the minimum of all the debt, and then that difference between 1,000 and 642. I'm going to say 42. It goes 358. So you just take that 358 and you pay that towards the Chase balance until that's done. The important piece is to make sure that you commit every single month in your budget, however much you need to pay towards your credit card debt. Because now it's part of your budget. Where we see where people go wrong is a month comes and maybe they got some extra money and they say, hey, you know what? Instead of doing 1,000 this month, I'm going to do $1,500 to get ahead of it. And then 3 months later, they can only do 500, and then they start to feel bad because then they got to put the other $500 back on the credit card. It's okay to pay down debt and still save for the future. So we want you to be able to do those simultaneously. So please take inventory of where you are right now from a debt perspective. Make the minimum payments on all of your debt. Commit on a monthly basis how much is going to go towards your debt payment. So it's already accounted for. Minimum payments on all the debt, and then that surplus would just go towards, in this scenario, the smallest balance first. And then also figure out what those interest rates are too. Psychologically, it does something for you when you realize that you're paying them 30% interest every single month of your money that you're no longer earning. So that's how I'd encourage you to address the debt payment. And then as we transition from debt payment to just some risk management protection, let's just do some quick hits on life insurance, disability insurance, just those two for now, and then we can shift to investments right after.
Perfect. So, has anybody in this chat ever heard of your human life value? Okay. So I want everybody to do a quick take your calculators. If you can do so. All right. And so I want you to take your salary. Bilal's gonna do it. Perfect. Bilal, take this let's do 150, take 150,000
Yep.
divided by 4%. That's $3.75 million. Okay. So what human life value is, it was done by an economist, I forget his name, but he said that every single person walking around has economic value in in today's society. And so when we think about the significance of $3.75 million, it's for income replacement. Okay. And there's 3 times in your life you're going to replace your income. The first time would be when you retire. But that's just one of the common things. When you retire and we want to make $150,000 per year before taxes, cut me and Bilal a check of $3.7 million and we got you. You're financially free. And so this would be a number we shoot for retirement. I just give, we still talk about defense, but retirement is a number to think. 3.75 is one area. The second area, your earning potential can be also looked at $3.75 million. So that means that if you think about it, y'all are all cash machines that are going to be printing out $3.75 million. And this $3.75 million is going to help you buy the second property. It's going to help you send your first kid to school, send your second kid to school. It's going to help you pay down debt. It's going to help you invest into real estate, help you start your business. Now, I don't know about y'all, but I would insure that cash machine 100%. Because if that cash machine goes broken and it's not working anymore, well, your entire financial picture can fall apart. And so that means that you want to protect your human life value through disability income insurance. All right. And so normally your company, your job will have this benefit. Normally. However, they typically have limitations where they'll pay you out only a certain amount. Usually they cover up to 60%, but then there's a monthly benefit max of like 10 grand a month or 5 grand a month. And usually those benefits are taxable. And then after 2 years of being on disability claim through the plan through your job, they sometimes have you recertify after 2 years. And so almost always we tell our clients, supplement what you don't have to your employer, or if you don't have anything, get something. Okay, so that's the second time in which you want to replace your income, disability. And the last thing that you want to do is replace your income for your family, because you provide financial support for your family. So $3.75 million can be considered the amount of life insurance coverage you should own. Because no matter what happened to you, at least we can replace $3.75 million and you can have your family use that money as paying for education, paying off the mortgage, making sure your spouse gets towards retirement without having to stress out financially, right? And so this is very oversimplified, right? We're not factoring a lot of inflation, taxes, etc. But the main thing here is protect your human life value and take your income, divide it by 4%. That's how much you need to be protecting, and that's how much you need to be saving to get towards retirement.
That's excellent. So are people buying $3.75 million of life insurance, Anthony, when they make 150?
They are.
No.
They actually are. And people think that, oh, it's very expensive. Oh my God, how much is that going to be? Well, sometimes less than $200 a month, less than $150 a month. Like, there's many different types of life insurance that you can get. There's 2 main types. There's term insurance, which is inexpensive. Eventually it will expire on you. And then there's something called permanent life insurance, where it's permanent, a little bit more expensive, but you build equity. And there's subtypes in each type. Now, what we care about is get the right amount first. Then we figure out the types.
Yeah. So what I'm hearing is buy that term insurance for the right protection for your family. In case something does happen to you, you gotta make sure your family is protected. And ideally try to replace whatever your salary is for your family. And a quick way to do that, just take your salary divided by 0.04. And that assumes that, hey, you know what? If I had this 3.75, if I pull 4% from it, that's going to pay out this 150 to my family for the next 30 plus years of their lives. Have you ever run into a situation where someone's like, I love my family, but I don't think I love them 3.7 much. Have you run into that?
I hear it all the time.
Yeah.
I hear it all the time, and it's one of those things where we can have a wealth builder mindset
Mm,
where it's, hey, although I may not be here, I want to leave the most I can leave behind to give my family a head start.
mhm.
That's one philosophy. And to be honest, if you have that philosophy, that mindset, then great. We could definitely help you get to those goals. If someone's like, hey, I don't leave my family that much, well, it's like we're probably not a good fit. Again, we not everybody can join on the boat of this wealth building journey. But again, that's me being very intense. But the idea is some people do say that. Also, some people say, Anthony, I'm single. I don't got no kids. Do I really need $3.75 million life insurance? No, you don't. No need it.
Yep.
You might want it, right? Because once you learn about how to leverage insurance and like for financial planning investment strategy, you might want it. But one thing you cannot control is your health, is your insurability. And so at the very least, let's say if you're not married, you don't have any kids, you don't even intend on having kids or getting married, we recommend at least get 7 to 10 times income in insurance coverage at the very least. At the very least, right? So at least you're not leaving behind a burden, or if anything, we can just we can just put down the National Association for Pharmacists. I'm sure if I'm butchering the name, but it's like we could put down your organization as a beneficiary, and I got an endowment fund that has over $5 million. You follow me? And so there's many ways that we can leverage that insurance premiums and that plan. But again, it depends, right? It really depends. But yeah, but I hear that stuff all the time.
Excellent. Well, so far we got the right percentage of income to save. I got someone right in the chat. What percentage of your income should you save? And then we spoke about the risk management perspective, which is having emergency savings, making sure you have supplemental disability insurance or income protection, and then also having the right amount of life insurance. And there was a little formula, which is salary divided by point something. If someone could put that in the chat as well, that'd be helpful. And then while that's happening, I want to transition to talk about more about the offensive stuff and think about saving for the future. Now, when people are thinking about saving and investing for the future, you're going to see all these videos online as, oh, buy this meme coin, buy this stock, buy this ETF, buy this mutual fund. The first place for you to start, especially, is if your employer offers your retirement plan with the match, that's the first place to start. If your employer says, hey, you put in 5% of your salary, we're going to put in 4, go there first. If you put in 3, we put in 3, go there first, because that's 100% rate of return guaranteed. I like money. I like free money the most. And if someone's willing to give me free money, I'm taking it. So always start with the employer's retirement plan if there's a match offered. Now, I know that part can get very confusing because if you work for a company, it means you have a 401k, a 403b, a 457. That's 3 separate accounts. And they could also have an individual retirement account, which is an IRA. That's 4 different options now. And then there's 2 words that people throw in front of those accounts that confuses everyone. So now you have a traditional 401k, 403b, 457 IRA. You have a Roth 401k, 403b, 457 IRA. So now you have 8 different accounts. When you give people 8 options, it's very difficult to make a decision. So the best way to think about it is anytime you see an account with a number 4, it means you get it from your employer. So always start there first. And then we always get this question of, okay, well, how does it work and which one is better? Traditional means I get a tax deduction when I make my contribution. Meaning I'm working, I make 150. I decide to take 10% of my salary or $15,000 and I put that into a traditional 401k. When it is tax time, I am taxed on 150 minus 15, 135,000. Now, why would you want to do that? You live in a progressive tax system. The more you make, the more you pay. So intentionally, people are looking for ways to reduce the amount of taxes that they're paying. So that can help you on the front end. Then you invest this $15,000 and then it grows. I'm gonna do a quick little calculation for you in a second. But then that number continues to grow year after year. And then you retire, and let's say one day this 15,000 grew to $250,000 for you. Well, at 250, when the money comes out of the account, you're then going to pay taxes on every single dollar in that account at that point. But that's how the traditional works. I make 150 today, and let's just look at the tax brackets. If you're single and you make 150 today, you're in a 24% federal tax bracket. And that's just marginal. If you're married making 150, you're in a 22% because you're between that. But there's a difference between marginal and effective tax rates. Just because you're in a 24% tax bracket does not mean you're paying 24% on everything. Because you're paying 12% between this 11.9 to 48, 22 between 48 to 103, and then at 24% is between 103 to 197, which means your effective tax rate is actually a lot lower than the 24% that you're seeing here. So you can do the opposite of that. So what's the opposite? The opposite is the Roth. And what that means is I'm going to pay taxes now on this $15,000. I make 150, I'm taxed on 150. It doesn't feel as good. However, you're never going to pay taxes on that money ever again, which get really, really exciting. So that's on all the accounts of the number 4. And then naturally people say, well, I think I phased out of this thing called a Roth IRA because I make too much money. So now let's imagine you're single, you make 200 grand. Well, you're completely phased out. Or you're married and you're making 300 grand. You're completely phased out. So you can no longer directly contribute to this Roth IRA anymore because you are phased out. So what can you do? Well, there's what's known as a backdoor Roth. And essentially how that works is you'll contribute money first into this traditional IRA. So that's number 1. Once the money goes into the traditional IRA, then you do what's known as a Roth conversion to get the money into the Roth IRA. So now it's a 2-step process instead of a 1-step process. And as you can also see what the limits are, the limit to contribute to a Roth IRA in 2025 is $7,000, but your employer sponsored plan, this 401k or 403b, last year was $23,000, this year's $23,500. So if you're someone that's been maxing out at $23,000, this year just double check with your employer to make sure you're getting that additional $500 in there as well. So that's how the traditional versus a Roth works from a 401k and an IRA perspective. Questions on that, anyone? Anthony, anything to add to that?
No, I think I'll wait for any questions in the chat. No one decided to answer your quizzes earlier. I guess next time we'll just offer an incentive. We'll probably give some people some money to go vibe out with it, like but I think that is very, very straightforward. Again, I know we're vomiting a lot of information at y'all. This webinar, I mean, I think there's like 22 of y'all on the call. And so we're going to do like a quick touch point. Any questions that's top of mind for y'all that you'd like to discuss? And I'll just pause for like a minute or two to hear anything.
All right. While you're doing that, what I'm going to do is I'm just going to do just a quick little calculation to show people how much money you're actually going to have in the future as those questions comes in. So if you take someone who's, I don't know, a 30-year-old, and they're going to start investing money into their employer plan, and let's just say this person started with $0. The rule of thumb is to save at least 10% into your retirement plan through your employer. So if the match is 5%, we really encourage you to go up to 10%. Use a Roth option if offered to you. Mathematically end up working out better for really anyone under the age of 45. We have clients in their 50s now that still end up using it anyway. Excuse me. But if you're young, going with the Roth option makes a lot of sense. So if you're making 150 and 10% of that's $15,000 a year, at age 30, you started with nothing. We want to know how much money are you going to have in the future by the time you retire. The annual rate, this is a rate of return you could expect to earn on your investment account. If we're going to pick what's known as the S&P 500 or 500 of the largest companies in America, over the past 100 years has returned an average of 10%. So if we put 10% there and you're at 30 years old, anyone know what Social Security normal retirement age is today? I know it was like rushing to type it in the chat, but it used to be 65, is now 67. So now that's 37 years away. So from age 30, if all you do is put 10% into your Roth 401k, you just do what the market has done over the past 100 years, and you wait until normal retirement age, you're expected to have close to $5 million in your account completely tax-free.
Isn't that crazy?
People do a lot of crazy things for tax-free money. Imagine what people actually do for $5 million tax-free.
Yeah, and the crazy part is sometimes it's I know for me it was tough for me to wrap my head around this concept, the power of compounding interest.
Yeah.
But it really is one of the wonders of the world because it's money on top of money on top of money. Like I remember I had this one client, and she loved traveling. Like, I think she was spending over like 10 grand a year on travel, and she wasn't trying to invest at all. Like, she was like, Anthony, I don't want to invest. Would you say it's racks on racks on racks? Yeah, yeah, I will. I would say that. Who was that? What song was that? What was that? That was back in like 2013, 2014.
Excellent, excellent.
His name
Yeah.
is YC.
Yes.
That song was written by Future. Just put it
There
out
we
there.
go. It's written by, okay, thank you,
Yeah.
DJ. Yes, racks and racks and racks can help you travel. I told one of my clients, hey, let's try to get you to 100 grand in your investment account. And if we do that, we can actually use your money to pay for your travel expenses. And she was like, really? I was like, yeah. And when we think about, let's say someone has 100 grand, 10% on $100,000 is $10,000. 10% on like $10,000 is $1,000. Right. So sometimes, Bilal and I have the unique ability to work with clients at different income levels and different places where they start financially. And so we've seen clients put like, save 10 grand to investment account. They see their account go up 10%. They're like, oh, cool. That's cute. I seen $1,000, whatever. But then literally you put in the years and years and years of work, you wake up, next you got like 250,000 in your investment account. Market does 10%. That's 25. That's $25,000. And then we can now take that money to go spend on whatever you want. Right. And so someone asked, what should we prioritize, Bilal? Saving, investing, or paying off debt?
All of them at the same time. Because it's really difficult to just pick one or the other, and there's so many different ways around it. And here's where I'm going with this. I've read tons of books on this stuff. I'm a big fan of a lot of these public figures when it comes to financial literacy. And I think they're phenomenal humans, and I think they do a great job of educating the general population of America. The challenge, however, is no one on this call is actually part of the general population of America. The general population of America is a family of four making $74,000 in the US today. I don't think any of you guys are making 74 grand a year working full time at any job. And if you are, you're extremely underpaid and you should report. So when I think about that, there's approaches out there of, hey, keep $1,000 in your savings account. And this is a Dave Ramsey Total Money Makeover. I'm a huge fan. Just keep $1,000 in your savings or your checking account and then pay down all of your debt first before you start investing. Well, you're just losing out on time. Because if you just think about if you invested 15 grand for 2 years, same 10%, 15 times 2 is 30, you're at 31.5. That's $1,500. To Anthony's point, you're not excited. But if you go back to that age 67, that's 4.9. If you say, hey, you know what, I'm going to wait 1 year to do this, just 1 year, you're going to go from $4.9 million to 4.4. You just lost $500,000 of tax-free money for just waiting 1 year for the same 10%. So do the budget spreadsheet, that Excel document we're going to share with you. And when you do that, start thinking through, okay, what portion of my money should be going towards my debt payoff? And then the saving and investing, you should do those simultaneously as well. Invest a portion and also save a portion so you have your emergency savings. And it's okay if it takes you 2 or 3 years to get your 3 or 6 months of emergency savings. You don't necessarily need all of that right away.
Right. And when we think about how to divvy it up, like how much should go towards debt, how much should go towards savings, it's like a big it depends. Of course we can give y'all like blanket, hey, take 10%, pay it on the debt, take 50%. Again, it's going to be dependent upon how much you got in emergency fund. It's going to be dependent upon your credit score, depending upon your access to credit, loans. There's so many different ways to pay down the debt. So at least I know I'm thinking about, okay, well, based upon my situation, how do I do this? Well, it really does depend. Bilal and I can't give y'all advice for 22 people on one call. Definitely, y'all should definitely connect with us, have a conversation. I think we're offering a free consultation to everybody for 30 minutes to speak with someone, either us or someone on our team. So definitely reach out. And then TJ asked, do you have a chart graph that shows where we should be financially in terms of saving and building wealth over the course of our life?
Yeah, one, comparison is the thief of all joy, for sure. But I remember first thinking through this, and it's like, all right, where do I land? And you feel good when you're ahead of it, and you feel terrible if you're not exactly there. But if you're thinking about it from a national perspective, the average net worth, which is assets, everything you own, minus liabilities, everything you owe, the average net worth first hits zero at age 30. So think about that. On average, it's 31. On average, it hits zero. So that means you've worked, you went to school, graduated, went to pharmacy school, graduated. A lot of times you invested into your future by taking out student loans. So that's on the liabilities side. And then you start saving money, which is money in your savings, your checking, your investment account, your retirement account. You purchased a home. It's all there for you. You take everything you own minus everything you owe to get your net worth. So on average, your net worth hits zero by the time you're 30. By the time you're 40, that number increases roughly to around 150. By 50, it increases to around 300. At 60, it increases around 600. And then 70 and beyond, it's 7 or 780. Thinking because you have more time, it continues to compound. But that's the average. And then again, just thinking about what those averages are, on this call, you're not an average person. So therefore, you should expect yourself to be much higher. I think it will be interesting to figure out what that is for pharmacists, but that's a national average. That's where you're gonna get. We're trying to pay off debt aggressively, not a Ramsey disciple. Yeah, I do like him a lot, but the 1,000 is a little crazy. I completely agree with you. If you're trying to pay it off aggressively, sometimes you kind of have to be a little bit more aggressive with it, but at the same time, don't neglect saving for the future and put 100% towards the debt either.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. And, just pay very close. Like, I think the most important piece is pay close attention to the interest rate on the debt and try your hardest to keep your utilization 10% or less. That's my favorite number. And then try not to be listed as a cosigner for anybody, even your mother, your father, your brother. I'm speaking from personal experience. Okay. And also client experience. I violated my own rule for my little brother. Okay. But luckily it was a debt that was very minuscule and whatnot, but I've seen people get messed up so many times on that. Jacqueline also had a book recommendation. So one thing, I think one book that Bilal and I really like is The Psychology of Money. I'm not sure if if it's on your book list over there, Bilal. But Psychology of Money, I love the book. It changed my perspective just on how to view money, how to keep the wealth. So that's one. The other book that I like reading is a book called Think and Grow Rich, A Black Choice. And so that book was more so. Oh, there we go. Which one, Jacqueline? Psychology of Money or Think and Grow Rich? Yep.
Yeah. Here it is right here. And highly recommend. Morgan Housel, just
We need
just
you
a
a
mentor.
we need you like a promo code or something like that, Bilal 101 or
You
something,
should.
because I got it because of Bilal. I heard about it. Bilal brought it up so much in our meetings. I'm gonna just get this book and read it. But I think that's a really good book. Another good book was Think Grow Rich, A Black Choice by Napoleon Hill. By also Dennis Kimbrough. It's a really good mindset book. Another good one that I really like is this might sound very cliche, but I really love Rich Dad Poor Dad by Robert Kiyosaki. I think that he gives a lot of good advice or gives you the framework on building wealth, because you know, if you really want to build true wealth and really keep maintaining, I believe it's built through the equity markets. So it's built through investing. I think it's also built through business ownership, right? So whether you own your own business, you're part owner of another business. And then I also think it's also built through. I mean, it's 7:30. My brain is freezing. But what's the third one, Bilal? It's real estate. Boom. There we go. Sorry, real estate. Real estate. Because real estate allows you to really exponentially grow your wealth and leverage it if we need to. And I think we have 4 more minutes left before we have to.
Yeah. If you want one more, I like this one. What the Rockefellers do. I think it's pretty good. Listen, I've audibled it. I had a few clients also listen to it, and they really do enjoy it. It's very specific to life insurance, just so you can continue to learn more about it. I think the points are great, but I think to get your point across nowadays, you have to be very extreme. So just be a little conservative when you listen to it. But there's a lot of great knowledge you're going to get out of it. Highly recommend what the Rockefellers do. And then I think it's also really practical to think about where should you invest your money? If you're trying to find a way to simplify this whole thing, because there's so many different options out there, if there's one single investment that I could pick and I can only put my money here and nothing else, and I only have one choice, I'm going to bet on
Dogecoin. Psych.
Dogecoin.
Psych.
It's fart coin. Fart coin. Yeah, so many. Okay. I'm picking 500 of the largest companies in the US, the S&P 500 in one go. And the ticker there is Victor Oscar, Vanguard's version. VOO, Victor Oscar. It's just set it and forget it. I want to invest. I got money being set aside. What should I do? Just invest into the S&P. It's just the most simplest way you could possibly just invest for the future. If I had to make
It's
one.
boring. Just so you know, it's boring.
It
Like
is
all
very
this
boring.
wealth building stuff is boring. I remember I had this one client. He had some money over at a different investment firm, and it could have been better allocated. That advisor didn't speak to him for like 6-7 years. And then as he was gonna transfer things over to us to help for us to manage it, this advisor proposed an idea to him. He's like, here's a shiny object. You can get X amount return you get 15% return per year. You're gonna get $10,000 of income per year. I then did deeper research on this deal, and the fees to invest in this account was roughly about 3% per year. That's just advisory fees, not even the expenses of the actual management of the fund. And then he had our client consider putting his money into a retirement account. So all this to say, it sounded nice. It sounded nice and shiny. It was a sexy object, but when it came down to it, it was too shiny where it didn't make any sense. The VOO thing we're talking about is very boring. Okay, clients come to us, hey, Anthony, what's the strategy for 2025? I'm like, the strategy stayed the same for 2024. Did your goals change? All right, cool. So nothing changes here. Right? So I just wanted to just keep it real with y'all. TikTok, social media, they're gonna say things to make things sound excited. I remember one client, I'm preaching at this point. I'm sorry. We're done. I'm done here. I'm done.
You're done? All right, awesome. I didn't want to cut you off. But here's Vanguard, VOO. Expense ratio, I mean, it's nothing, 0.03%. Year to date, with everything that's going on in the world, with new administration, you're still up 4%. This thing's been around for 15 years. It's averaged 14%. Have we done 14%, 15 grand a year from 30 to 67? You just do that, you're gonna have $16 million tax free. That's crazy. I don't know, 16 millionaires, $16 million millionaires, but that's just a very easy way to do that. In 2 years, you're gonna have 32,000 and you put in 30. You're not gonna care. It doesn't matter. Just keep going. The longer you wait, the better this thing gets. In 5 years, you're gonna have 100 grand. Just say 15 grand. You would have got 15, you'd have 100. Very, very simple. There's one thing to invest your money in, because I know this stuff could become a lot. And as fiduciaries, that is not financial recommendation to anyone. Please consult with your financial advisor to see if that's something you should do with your money. That is not legal advice. But feel free to connect with us. I know our emails are dropped in the chat. You get a free consultation for at least a half hour. Thank you, Chantel. You totally get it. It's not financial or legal advice. So awesome. I'll stop talking. TJ, I saw you came back on camera, so maybe you want to wrap us up.
Yeah, I appreciate you guys coming back and talking to us. Definitely, good advice, good information from you guys as always. Shameless plug, Bilal is my financial advisor, funny enough. So just putting that out there. So yeah, I appreciate you guys as always. Would love to talk to you guys about maybe coming to our national convention where there's hundreds of pharmacists and students potentially. So yeah, we appreciate your time as always. You too, Anthony, of course. And yeah, we hope we can connect more in the future.
Of course. No, we're here to be a resource. This is a part of our $1 trillion mission. We're here with y'all 7:30 on a Tuesday night. And so we're really committed to this. And so we're here to be a resource. And listen, let's not make this session feel like it fell on deaf ears. Take action. We are going to recommend reach out to set up a meeting, and just literally all you have to do is just copy and paste both the emails in the chat. Just send us I want to meet, and then our assistant will send you a meeting link to get some time to talk. Again, 30-minute consultation, because I know sometimes finance is very personal, and so we want to make sure we give you personalized advice and answers to your questions.